Hey guys, this is Pontiac Mike, and I'm here to talk to you about Pontiac Aztek body control modules. Usually I work on older Pontiacs, muscle car era stuff like Firebirds and GTOs, cool stuff like that. But today working on something a little bit different. This is a 2001 Aztek. It's my daughter's car. She loves it even though it's ugly. Um, and to the Aztek's defense, it is a very versatile car. It's great for hauling people or stuff or switching back and forth. I took a trip in it and took the seats out, threw a mattress in the back. My buddy and I were able to switch off sleeping while we were driving. So anyways, pretty neat vehicle, but they are plagued with a few problems. One of them is the body control module. Basically, your body control module has a 100% failure rate. If you take an Aztek to its service life, at some point the body control module will fail. Basically, the symptoms of that is the vehicle acts like it's lost its mind. It just starts doing all kinds of weird things. The body control module touches so many things in the car, everything from power windows and tailgate to some of the gauge functions. It can even affect the way the engine runs. Basically, you have three major components in your Aztek that are talking to each other. It's the powertrain control module, the body control module, and the instrument cluster. And the three communicate with each other, they pass on information to each other, they use information, and if one of those three components fail, it can create symptoms that look like the other component is the issue. We're having a lot of problems with the Aztek. Sometimes it doesn't start. The security system is tied into that body control module. Sometimes the power locks click for no good reason. So basically, we decided to replace the body control module, seeing how it's a high failure rate. Purchase it on Amazon.com. I highly recommend that you don't purchase anything except an AC Delco or Delphi factory replacement. There's probably some cheap knockoffs out there, but they're very complex systems, and it wouldn't take much of an oversight on the manufacturer's part to give you a product that isn't going to work correctly in your vehicle. One other thing I wanted to mention too is there is also a harness plug located just behind the driver's seat that goes through the floor. This is a trouble area on these vehicles. We live in western Colorado where it's very dry. We don't have corrosion or rust problems here, but I did check that plug, and I was really surprised at the amount of corrosion that was in it. So what you want to do there is if you're starting to have problems, especially with the fuel gauge or the all-wheel drive disable, check that plug first. Take a wire brush, spend some time, clean it out, a small screwdriver, get all the corrosion out of that, then put some dielectric grease on that plug and plug her back together. That may solve some problems before you start looking at body control modules and things like that. So the reason I'm doing this video is as I started this project, the first thing I did is check YouTube and figured somebody could save me some time and show me how to take this console out. Couldn't find anything, and wish I could have, because I probably wasted a half hour taking part of the console apart that didn't need to come apart. So I just kind of wanted to do this video and help the next guy out. Basically, the first thing I'll show you is the tools that you're going to need for this job. Not very many tools at all. Basically, what I've got here is a 7mm and a 10mm. Those are just nut drivers. I also have a 10mm ratchet wrench and a small screwdriver. So the first thing I did is I popped off these side access panels to the fuse on the other side of the console. They go right in the side here. The next thing I did is I took off the shifter, and this shifter comes off very easily. Pull the shifter down into first or second gear so you can access this. This little staple looking piece of metal just stabs in here, and that's what the screwdriver was for. I basically just pry that up. Once that pulls up, the shifter knob completely slides off. Then the next thing I did, and it may or may not be necessary, but I did pop off this center of the console. There's no screws or anything. There's just 4 clips that hold it on. Be careful, the plastic, you know, can be brittle. So then I pulled that off. And then the next thing I did is there are 2 small access panels that go toward the front of the console. Pop both of those off. Those will give you access to 2 nuts that were 10 millimeter. So I took those off, and then this is where my head scratching began. The front of the console became loose, but the back was not. So I started looking for the screws that held down the back of the console. I took apart the colored part off the console just to find that wasn't getting me anywhere. Kind of frustrated, so I kept on looking around. Finally, I discovered underneath the carpet are 2 mounting tabs. And so what you want to do is, in between the seat and the console, pull back the carpet, access those, and then I used a ratchet wrench. It's kind of tight to get in there. It probably would, I could have moved the seats up and probably had a little easier access. But anyways, I used the ratchet wrench there. And after I got those nuts off, the console came out. It's a little bit tight. It took a little finagling, wiggling around, but I was able to get it out without any other issues. So let's take a look inside the Aztek, and we'll show you where the body control module is. Basically, this is the fuse box, and it mounts right here. There are 2 on the back side here. There are 2 plugs. A 7 millimeter nut driver will take both of those off. Kind of wiggle the plugs as you're loosening these up. Okay, and then the body control module was mounted on top. And I might have the direction wrong here, probably. Yeah, maybe. Anyways, let me. So, yeah, this is the direction. And the way this is held on is kind of interesting. This is called a cam lock, or at least that's what I call it. So it sits in there like this. There's 2 clips on each side. So you, after you disconnect the wires off the back, you pull this out, flip it around, just merely twist that, and your body control module comes right off. So basically, if you can get this far, putting it back together is obviously just a reverse of operations. I don't think you'll have any problems with that. But anyways, I definitely wanted to show you where those bolt holes were underneath the carpet. And if you know where they're at, they'll save you some time. The other thing I wanted to mention is body control modules have to be programmed. It takes a Tech 2 scanner. They're very expensive. Again, there's a bunch of knockoffs out there, and I read a little blog on eBay about those knockoffs. Basically, a Tech 2 scanner will cost you a bunch of money. If you're not spending a bunch of money for a Tech 2 from a reputable company, don't waste your time. The problem with using a knockoff scanner is they can potentially do damage to this control module or other components in the vehicle. So what I opted to do is I checked with my local dealer. They said it'd be less than $100 to plug their scanner in and program this. And I just figured those are what those guys do every day, and just leave it to them. I hate spending money, for services. I usually like to do everything myself, but in this case, just one of those things that I need to do. So anyways, I want to thank you for watching this video, and if you have an Aztek, keep it on the road. They're fun vehicles, and have a great day. Thanks.